Hello everyone, we are from Group A. We will discuss about legal capacity to contract with legal demeanor. My name is Jenny. I will introduce our group member. Lai Wei Chuan, Muhammad Hanis Hamizan bin Rosdi, and Tan Ying Suang. And our lecturer name is Encik Muhammad Asmadi bin Muhammad Ansor. What is the abstract of legal capacity to contract with legal demeanor? A contract involves the exchange of promise for goods or service between two people, and all the contracts entered into by the minor are invalid, so the minor will not be sued under the contract. From this case, legal ability to conclude contract, which minors mainly discuss the positive or negative effects of minors when signing contracts.
The first part I would like to present in our business law assignment is introduction. What is minor? A minor is a person who does not reach the age of majority and also does not have the legal rights of an adult. For example, the national legal age for drinking alcohol is above 21 years old. The government has provided the law for minor. First is marriage contract by minor. The marriage contract included namely marriage, divorce, and adoption under Section 4A(h) of the Majority Act 1971. For non-Muslim women law, the minimum age of male and female is at 18 years old under Section 10 of the Reform Act 1976. A person below the age of 21 years old is required before marrying to obtain and consent in writing by their parents. Second is minors' employment. The government is protecting from being sued on damage under Section 13 of the Employment Act 1955. There are three types of work allowed to do, included do light work in family-owned business, work in public entertainment, and work that is sponsored by the government within a school. All of this is under Section 2 of the Children and Young Person Employment Act 1966. Section 5(1) is one of the minor employment contract. This contract means the children may not work, such as work more than 3 hours continuously without a break at least 30 minutes. The effect of minors agreement is no liability arising out of either contract. A minor is incapable of giving consent and the nature of minors agreement is void and cannot be enforced to them. Second is restitution of benefit. When a person at whose option a contract is voidable revoke it, the other party need not perform it because this will be avoidable under the minors. So this contract is under Section 64 of the Indian Contract Act. Therefore, he or she cannot refund money to the money lender because their contract is voidable. There are certain exceptions of general rules to protect minor. First is when a minor has performed his obligation. In contract, a minor can be a promisor but not a promisor. Therefore, if the minor has performed his part of the promise but other party not being promised to the minor, then they will enforce the contract. Second is the contract of apprentice. The contract of apprentice concerned by guardian on his or her behalf means it binds on the minor under the Indian Apprentice Act 1850. The next part is cases review. The first cases review is Islamic Family Law Enactment. Islamic Family Law Enactment is marriage contract by minor. For example, Malaysian man married Tiger Sulaiman in South Thailand as his third wife. According to the case law Islamic Family Law Enactment, which applies in all states, the minimum legal age of male must in 18 years old and female also must in 16 years old. Those under the legal below the minimum age will only be permitted for marriage if they are concerned by writing Sharia judge and their parents. Second cases review is Collect Code 1308 7A 2005. This contract is minors employee contract. For example, 12 years old who named Jack who got a part an opera actor. When Jack turned into 20 years old, he wants to void a few regulations of the contract, but the contract had already signed when he was a minor. So the contract is Collect Code 1308 7A 2005. This contract means no minor shall be working in the entertainment industry more than 8 hours in one day for 24 hours. In this fact that the contract was approved by the court.
Next, the scholarship agreement. The Section 4A of Contract Act 1976. Any scholarship agreement cannot be invalidated on the grounds that the scholar who signed the agreement is underage. The scholarships are used to provide children with the ability to continue learning and improve their knowledge. In failure to comply with the terms of the scholarship agreement may be regarded as a breach of the agreement or contract. Contracts for necessaries. The Section 69 of Contract Act 1950, those who provide minors with necessities can be repaid by the minors. Necessities basically refer to commodities necessary for minors' current life. This contract is mainly to protect the person who signed the contract with the child and achieve a reasonable balance. Example of case Section 4A of Contract Act 1976 is the scholarship agreement for minors. The 15-year-old boy's grades declined and he could not get the scholarship, so he applied for prosecution. In contract, if boys do not comply with the terms, it may be regarded as a breach of agreement of contract. In Article 4A of the Contract Law of 1976, the boy was held accountable for a breach of contract for not fulfilling the term and could still be prosecuted. And the case Section 69 of Contract Act 1950 is the contract of necessities by minors. 12 years old who named Amy are ordered 8 search online for cash on delivery. When the goods arrived, Amy refused to pay and showed the merchant on the website. The court will first check whether Amy has enough search. If the court believes that Amy does not need extra search, he does not need to be liable. In Section 69 of the Contracts Act 1950, if it is necessary for the merchant to sell the goods to Amy, the contract will be valid.
Assalamualaikum and very good evening to Encik Muhammad Asmadi. My name is Muhammad Hanis Hamizan bin Rosdi. I am from Group 8. Today I would like to present about one of the case in our case review. So the case that I have choose is the case of Mohori Bibi and Darmodas Gosi minus agreement landmark case. Firstly, the introduction for this case. In Malaysia, the most important decision on the effect of agreements entered into by minors is the Privy Council decision of Mohori Bibi and Darmodas Gosi. The respondent, in this case, the respondent, which is a minor, executed a mortgage in favor of Brahmodat, a moneylender. The respondent commenced an action when he executed the mortgage and praying for a declaration that it was void and inoperative and should be cancelled. Next is the legal issue for this case. In this case, the issues presented were whether or not under Section 2, Section 10 and Section 11 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, the deed was void. Secondly, whether or not the defendant was responsible for returning the amount of loan he had received from him under such deed or mortgage. Thirdly, whether or not the mortgage originated by the defendant was voidable. Next, I will jump into the discussion of this case. According to the opinion of the courts, any person who is under the age of 18 years, which is a minor, cannot intend to create, contract, or make substantial decisions. Basically, this case has provided us with the understanding that because minors are incompetent to give their consent. They need to warrant or be protected in their dealings with the other individuals, which are majors. In this case, the Privy Council declared the law that any contact with the consent of a minor is absolutely void, and it has also been strictly enforced and continues to grow as well. For the principle of law in the discussion, the principle of law set out in this case are that any contract with a minor, neither valid or voidable, but ab initio void, which is void from beginning. Section 64 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 is valid only in situations where the parties to the contract are qualified to conclude the contract and may not apply in cases where the contract has been concluded. For the Majority Act 1875, it is to incorporate different legislation relating to the law of majority. The age limit of hitting the majority, or 18 years of age, has effectively been set by this Act. It states that only after completion of the age of 18 years can any person who is domiciled in India attain the age of majority. If any court of justice appoints the guardian for a minor in the case of a person or his property, or for both before the age of 18 years, then in such a case, the age of majority will be after the age of 21 years instead of 18 years. For the critical thinking in this case, in my way of thinking, this perception is right, because along with the explanation that they are not in a situation where they can think in a way that is wise. A minor in the group of those people who cannot give free consent. An agreement is an agreement where free and fair consent is given by both parties. But in the case of a minor, consent can be dominated by major ones, which is not in line with Section 10, subsection 1 and Section 14 of the Contracts Act 1950. However, in Malaysia, there is exceptions to general rule that a person is competent to enter into a contract at the age of majority, which is 18 years old. These include marriage contract, scholarship agreement, and employment contract provided under specific statutes. To be concluded, in Mohori Bibi and Darmodas Gosi case, it may be concluded at the end that any arrangement or deed in which a minor is a party to it or is in any way included in such communication shall be considered null and void, because in the eyes of the law, such an agreement is not an agreement. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Now is conclusion. All contract entered by a minor are void in the general rules regards to the minor's contractual capacity. According to Under the Age of Majority Act 1971, the age of majority of minor is 18 years old, and minors are not required to sign agreements according to the 1950 contract law. The derive of this authority was from the Indian case, Mohori v. Darmodas Ghosh 1903, ILR 13 Col 539. The Privy Council in Mohori Bibi's case decided that a party who is a minor cannot be compelled to repay any monies that has received by him in the contract. Therefore, Section 65 of the Indian Contract Act applies in a contract that between competing parties, and it does not apply to a minor contract. The contract will be treated as never exist from the start if the case is involving a minor. And in the most jurisdiction, the concept of minor is not clearly defined as the age of criminal responsibility and consent, the age at which school is no longer necessary, the age at which legally binding contracts can be signed and may be different from each other. So, through law, helps and the benefits of minors will be provided to protect them if they making mistake or do not know their action at age. 2. Law of the contract is important to lay guidelines as when the contract is valid and can be judged by law and also when it is void through on it. This is the reference that we use in this assignment, which is books and online articles. And this is from us. Thank you for watching.